I just finished binge watching 13 Reasons Why, and I thought I would sit down here and talk about it with you guys. So just before we start, this is not going to be me comparing the book to the show. I haven't read the book. I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I think I really enjoyed the show for its mystery, and I enjoyed it because I didn't know what was going to happen next. And so I think if I were to read the book, I would have known everything that was going to happen and it wouldn't be as enjoyable. If you haven't read the book or don't know anything about the show, let me explain it to you guys in as little words as possible. Because it's kind of hard. So basically this show follows a guy named Clay who one day receives a box of 13 cassette tapes. Now on these cassette tapes are recordings that a girl from his school recorded right before she committed suicide. So each episode of this season focuses on each side of those 13 tapes, which I actually thought was a really cool way to tell this story. I'm not sure if the book does that as well, but I'm assuming it did. So yeah, I actually really liked the way this story was told, because it was a very slow build up to the very end. Obviously from the synopsis we know that this show is going to explore and tackle a lot of heavy dark issues. There is a lot of discussion about bullying in particular, depression, rape, and just kind of the realness of kids in high school. And I thought that the way the high school setting was portrayed was really well done, because there was never a point where I felt like they were romanticizing or glamorizing the high school experience or the topic of bullying, rape, or depression. Like, there was none of that. Now, I watch a lot of teen drama shows. They're kind of secretly my guilty pleasure, even though I'm not actually that guilty about it. And I thought that this one really stood out to me because the way the high school day-to-day characters were portrayed were really realistic, in my opinion. They were introduced to us in sort of archetypes, but then as the season went on, you get to see more and more of their layers, if that makes sense. So they seemed really realistic to me, and everything from the characters to the conversations that they would have felt real. They felt like something that teenagers would talk about. And even though there were moments of kind of the characters being over dramatic, I think it was presented in a way where it didn't feel like the show was trying to show us that it was over dramatic. Now, I mentioned that this show is really slow paced, and I think that's one of my favorite things about it at the moment, because it's presented to us as a mystery from the very beginning, but we already know the ending. So all of the little kind of things that we find out in each episode has this kind of building effect, and it builds up from like the little things that happen would occur, and then as it goes on, it like gets more and more serious, and it gets a lot bigger. And I think us as the audience, we kind of feel it building up to something big, even though we know that we already kind of know the consequences of what happens in the end. We don't know what the huge thing is, and I actually really like that it was told so patiently, if that makes sense. And the fact that the structure of the story was told this way is very parallel to the way Hannah was feeling right up to the point where she committed suicide. This show focuses a lot on characters, and I think a lot of these characters are very dynamic, which is surprising to me, because usually a character doesn't get like that big of an arc or that big of a development in one season. I think almost all of the characters in this show I felt were very complex in the realest way possible. Their flaws, their quirks, and their actions never felt stilted to me. They felt very real to their to the character that we were introduced to. The main character in this show is of course Clay, and I guess if you want to count Hannah as a main character you can. I don't really have a solid opinion on them. I don't know if I like them, I don't know if I hate them, because they both have their moments. Tony is also another character where I was like, I don't know. No, okay, actually I like Tony. I don't love Tony. I really like seeing the story of Alex and his life, because I feel like he's one of the only characters that wanted to take action and do the right thing. I mean, besides Clay. I also surprisingly ended up liking Justin. I didn't like him for the longest time, but I surprisingly ended up liking him, even though I still think he's kind of stupid. The other character that I still like but think is just dumb is Zach. The character that I did not like at all was probably Marcus. The other characters I don't really care too much about, but Marcus, every time he came on the screen, I just got so mad. I don't know why, because I think that what he did in the past wasn't as bad as some of the other people. I think it's just him as a character, because from the past and the present, he has always been the type of person who just wanted to protect his image, and he didn't really care about anyone else as long as he looked good. And I think that's what irks me the most, just because every time the Clay was in a scene with him or something, I'm just like, oh my god, go away, because I can't stand him. There was a point when I was watching where I was kind of worried about how they were going to end the season, just because I know that it's a TV series, but this story was adapted from a standalone book. So obviously I haven't read the book, so I don't know about the ending and stuff like that, but I know that it's a series, and I know that if they do have the chance to get picked up, they're going to take it. But I think I like the way they ended it. Anyway, the sun is about to go down, so I think those are all my thoughts at the moment. Sorry if this was kind of all over the place. I just finished watching it and I wrote like some very scribbly, very all over the place notes on my phone. So yeah, I hope it made sense in some way, and if you have watched the show, let me know down below your thoughts. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you guys soon.